Okay, so
all right. Today's video. What is today's video?
okay, so today's video we're gonna actually we're gonna do a recap of
Game of Thrones seasons 1 to 7. As you guys all know, season 8 just came out. So this is going to be a really, really good way for any of you who are really interested in the show but just don't have the time to catch up because you are missing out.
Everyone went nuts. It's gonna be an epic season. It's the season of all seasons. It's gonna be done. This is the finale.
Yeah.
So this is for people who have always wanted to watch Game of Thrones but never really knew if they could invest like
All
that
the
much time, because 7 seasons is a lot to catch up on before you start watching season 8.
Yeah, and
so,
especially because season 8 is already out, so you're bound to hit like a lot of spoilers all over the internet. So to avoid that and like quickly catch up, you want to make sure that like you don't spoil things for yourself.
Exactly. We're gonna say this is a disclaimer. This isn't exactly what happened in each of the seasons, where we kind of like picked and choose. We picked and chose, yeah, you're right.
Is that really what it is? Pick and choose.
One eternity later.
Is that your stomach?
That was my stomach.
Oh.
Picked and chose the most important parts of each season that kind of like tied into the bigger picture of stuff, because there are a lot of little scenes that happen but they're kind of irrelevant. They don't really tie into much.
People come and go constantly, so also if this wasn't clear enough already,
Spoiler alert!
just in case that wasn't as obvious.
Yeah.
So let's
Get started.
Season 1. It all starts when we find out about a guy named Jon Arryn who goes to bed, but he wakes up dead. Am I a rapper? He happens to be the hand of this guy right here, Rob Baratheon. And now he's like, oh damn, who's gonna be my hand now? So he decides to head up to the north, go on a little trip to meet his good old pal, Mr. Ned Stark. This guy. He doesn't want to be the hand. He really not about it. You know, it's a job I didn't sign up for. Meanwhile, at the wall, they spot these guys, these skinny legends, the White Walkers. Bran over here decides to go on a little adventure, climb a little tower, and he happens to come across 2 siblings. Yep, the parents of Joffrey. And they basically end his life. Kat, the mother of Bran, accuses Tyrion of trying to kill her son. She is pissed. Oh, look at the anger in her eyes. And she sends him to prison. Rob Baratheon has an incident while hunting, and he basically is about to die because of a boar. Which means, essentially, that Mr. Ned Stark over here has to take over. And he's really, again, not about it. But that doesn't last too long, because he is accused of killing a man, and he's murdered right in front of his poor little daughter, Arya. And bye. Across the narrow sea, we have the union of Daenerys and Aquaman. He ends up dying real quick because of this evil witch right here who ends up poisoning him. And Daenerys decides to walk through some fire and give birth to some dragons while she's at it. Because why not? And now she is Mother of Dragons.
Season 2. So as you can clearly see, Joffrey has lost his goddamn mind, and unfortunately, he is the new king. So Tyrion has made his hand to make sure he doesn't go completely ballistic. Stannis over here falls in love with Melisandre, who's a witch. And instead of giving birth to like a normal baby, like normal people do, she gives birth to this evil baby spirit thing, and this whole thing is just really messed up. So Robb Stark has gone out to fight Jaime and his men. Kat over here is all like worried and stuff because she's like, what if my son doesn't come back? But he comes back and he brings Jaime with him. And she realizes she can use Jaime to get her daughters back.
Give me my daughters back.
So in order to fight the Lannisters, Robb knows he needs other alliances, so he sends his mom and Theon to go get them. Theon goes back home, and because he has major daddy issues, his dad's like, I'll accept you as my son if we take over Winterfell. And he's all like,
I would.
he gets to Winterfell and tries to take Bran captive, but
Let a cripple escape. The boy can't walk, but somehow he slipped past you.
The giant must have took him.
Cat goes to talk to Renly, Baratheon's other brother, and negotiates her son.
And in return for my son's loyalty,
In the morning, I'll destroy my brother's army.
Or not. Evil baby spirit thing strikes again. Cat and Brienne of Tarth have to escape, or they're gonna get blamed for Renly's death. Across the Narrow Sea, Daenerys comes to Qarth to get some money so she can get some boats to go back to Westeros.
Where are my dragons?
What ends up happening is she gets her dragon snatched. She ends up finding her dragons,
Dracarys.
roasting the guy who kidnapped them alive. The guy who told her he had a lot of money to fund her little boat buying thing ends up having no money, so she locks him and her lion-ass friend in his big-ass empty vault. Jon Snow, aka Cutie Pie, and the Night's Watch come across some wildlings. He ends up capturing Ygritte, but then she escapes, so he chases after her, but then he ends up getting lost, and then she has him surrounded by her little wildling friends.
Took me while you had the chance.
And then he ends up getting captured. Arya makes a really important friend with someone from the Faceless.
Speak 3 names, and the man will do the rest.
So Stannis Baratheon has his boats trying to take over King's Landing, but Tyrion's like, and then he blows his boat up.
Season 3. Poor little Tyrion gets demoted by his father because he thinks it's his fault his mother died during childbirth. He ends up being forced to marry Sansa, which is really weird. Joffrey acts all big and gets engaged to Marjorie, who's Renly's widow, in hopes to establish an alliance. Cutie Pie over here meets with the wildling leader Mance Rhaegar to battle with the White Walkers, and he ends up in a strange relationship with the wildling herself, Ygritte. Meanwhile, good old Robb Stark over here was supposed to get married to Rosalind Frey, who's from the House of Frey, but he ends up falling in love with another girl, Talisa, who happens to be a healer. Even though it's a bit odd, the Starks are still invited to the wedding of Rosalind and Edmure Tully. It's referred to as the Red Wedding because it ends up in ultimate bloodshed. These 3 people are killed. And of course, little Miss Arya ends up watching yet another savage murder unfold. Roose Bolton gets named Warden of the North, and Bran realizes that he has powers. Brienne and Jaime, well, they keep moving south towards Westeros, and Daenerys rallies together a whole army.
Season 4. So Joffrey is still king, and he's still a lunatic, and he's still bullying everybody around him. So what ends up happening on his wedding day? He gets poisoned, he sort of low-key dies. Sansa kind of escapes with someone, we don't know who, and Tyrion gets blamed for Joffrey's death.
I demand a trial by combat.
So since Tyrion can't fight, he chooses Prince Oberyn to be his champion, and that doesn't really end too well.
Hereby sentenced to death.
We find out it was Littlefinger who saved Sansa, who's low-key obsessed with Sansa, but he sends her to her aunt, who's high-key obsessed with him. Did I already mention her aunt's, like, super crazy?
Down! Look down! Look down! Look down!
Crazy.
Let her go. Only loved one woman. Only one. Your sister.
And then Littlefinger ends her. Tyrion decides to go to Daenerys and Meereen and join forces with her so they can both destroy Cersei together. So Cutie Pie tries to warn the wall that the wildlings are going to attack, but no one listens to him, so Stannis has to come in and save all of them. So Theon ends up getting tortured so bad by Ramsay to a point that he only responds to the name Reek. Poor guy.
you are your star.
So Brienne of Tarth ends up finding Arya, but everyone has trust issues, so the Hound fights Brienne, Arya escapes, and then she heads over to Braavos to join the Faceless.
Season 5. Stannis is all like, man, I am lacking some entertainment up in here. And he decides to turn Rhaegar into a whole crisp, which means that Cutie Pie becomes the new leader of the Night's Watch. Okay, boo, I see you. And since burning one person just didn't feel right, Stannis also ends up burning his daughter because apparently that is the only way to appease the Lord of the Light. Littlefinger takes Sansa to marry Ramsay, which means that the Starks would be able to return to Winterfell. Stannis arrives to fight Bolton, but his men are against him because I guess they're just not about supporting a dude who burns their own daughters, and he ends up being killed by Brienne. Melisandre straight up offs it, and she escapes to Castle Black. Sansa also ends up being like, man, screw this, I'm out, and she follows in her footsteps by fleeing from Ramsay. Cersei conspires against Marjorie, who happens to be married to Tommen. Tommen is now king, and he is the younger brother of Joffrey. Cersei's incest-like behaviors are exposed, and she's forced to walk down the streets absolutely naked. So, baddie Dany takes over the city of Meereen with her new army, and things are pretty good, things are looking pretty good, but she struggles to maintain control over the city, and the locals go ballistic, rallying up against her. Dany's dragon's like, oh no, must save human, and he whisks her away to freedom. Jokes, she ends up in the middle of a Dothraki herd. Cutie Pie takes the Night's Watchmen to meet with the Wildlings because, he wants to form an alliance with them, and guess what? Guess who shows up unannounced? You got it. Skinny Queen. She causes a whole ruckus, and then Cutie Pie ends up going back to the wall, and he's killed. Or is he? Ooh. Tyrion and Dany meet up. In this little meeting, Dany's all like, you know what? I trust you, and so I'm gonna make you in charge while I'm gone. Okay?
Season 6. So all of us thought Cutie Pie was dead, but Melisandre comes in, she's like, I got this. I got my voodoo magic. I'm bringing back to life. Yay, he's back. Cutie Pie and Sansa end up reuniting after so long. He decides he wants to take Winterfell back.
To survive, we need Winterfell.
Sansa, at this point, is super done with Ramsay and all his BS. She essentially feeds him to his own dogs.
It's the motherfucking... There's something wrong. Cersei is not here.
Cersei is supposed to be on trial for all her incestual shenanigans, but does she show up? No, she just blows the place up instead. That ended up killing her daughter-in-law. Her son, the new king, commits suicide. Daenerys is captured by some Dothraki who let her know that because she's the widow of a dead Khal, she needs to basically live in a hut and die with the rest of the widows. Does she take that as an answer? No, she also burns the place down. What is with everybody burning the places down? Theon and Yara decide to also run to Daenerys and, join forces with her because Daenerys is just a badass.
When people ask you what happened here, tell them the North remembers. Tell them winter came for House Frey.
Arya ends up taking revenge with the people who killed her whole family at the Red Wedding in the coolest way possible. And Bran is still training with the Three-Eyed Raven.
Season 7. Daenerys heads over to Dragonstone with her cool little army on Frey ships, and Melisandre tries to get her to form an alliance with Cutie Pie, so he heads towards Dragonstone to meet up with her. They become all buddy-buddy and plan to defeat the Lannisters and White Walkers together. Then they're like, you know what? Let's send Yara and the Unsullied to King's Landing. Euron Greyjoy asks Cersei to be his wifey, and she's all like, if you kill Yara and the Unsullied, I'ma let you put a ring on it. And he does. There ends up being a battle between the Dothrakis and the Lannisters. Aw, but Dany's widowed dragon gets hurt. Jaime warns Cersei that Dany's dragons are no joke. Cutie Pie and Dany call a truce with Cersei, but since she's all like, I don't believe you, they head to the wall to bring her back a White Walker as proof. Cutie Pie falls for the Night King's trap, and Dany comes to save his ass like the true boss she is. They end up capturing a White Walker, but also lose their dragon Viserion to our favorite evil skinny queen, the Night King. They go for a quick little meeting with Cersei at King's Landing, and then they go back home to Winterfell with Tyrion tagging along. Arya, Sansa, and Bran are reunited, and it feels so good at Winterfell. And then they get into petty little fights, but Littlefinger just makes matters worse by being an absolute instigator. Bran ends up exposing him by saying that he's the one who killed Jon Arryn, which started this whole battle, and Arya beheads him on Sansa's command. Ice cold in the veins. Bran also finds out about how Cutie Pie is like the ultimate dude, and not a bastard, but a true Targaryen. And then Skinny Queen breaks the wall with the help of this stolen dragon who's now a dragon of ice. Guess what, y'all? Winter is here.
that was it.
That was the video. We hoped you liked it. We hoped it helped.
I hope you're all caught up now and you're super excited to watch season 8.
And let us know what you guys thought. Again, if you want us to do other shows, we could definitely do that. Even if there's shows that are done and you kind of just want us to recap it because you want to start watching it, or you don't really want to watch it,
or if you want to hear our interpretation of what we take away from like every single season of a TV show, then we definitely would do that.
So definitely leave comments below, like,
to us, let us know.
subscribe.
We really don't ask for much, so just like, comment, subscribe. Don't worry about sharing and all of that.
We hope you enjoy season 8. I know we're going to enjoy season 8
so much. We're gonna enjoy the hell out of it.
Exactly. So
thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time
in the next video. And scene.